All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our weekly 30 minutes webinar. My name is Mike Stratton. I am a systems engineer here at Verify, and I'll be your host for today's session. Joining me today is my good friend and fellow SC, Matt Sykes. How's it going, Matt?
Good, Mike. How you doing today, buddy?
Good, good. Just getting ready for Halloween, man.
Trick or treat.
Yeah. Dogs can't wait. For today's session, Matt is going to talk about the differences between user and device-based reporting. Please note that these webinars are always recorded and posted within 24 hours, so you can review them at any time. Check out the webinar page at verify.com for all of our past and upcoming sessions. You can also find these videos on our YouTube channel if that is easier for you. And let me get the next slide. We're going to start off today with a quick overview of Verify, or what Verify can do for you. Then we'll jump into a live demo where Matt is going to talk about the differences between user and device-based reporting. We'll pause some Q&A during the demo. If you have any questions, make sure to ask them in the chats. And after Q&A, we'll award one lucky attendee with a $50 Amazon gift card. So hang around to see if you've won. Verify is the preferred analytics and management solution tool for Cisco Call Manager, Contact Center Express, Cube iOS, WebEx calling, Zoom Phone, and MS Teams collaboration. It's deployable either on-prem or as a hosted cloud solution. We provide industry-leading call recording and analytics, as well as customizable dashboards and widgets. CCM management modules like remote phone control, change management, and dial plan management are also available. If you have any questions on any of our features, please contact us at support@verify.com or reach out to your account manager. And one more thing before we kick off. For additional fee, Verify offers an enhanced consulting service to our customers. Verify's SE team engages with you on a one-on-one basis to remotely provide additional consulting, report building, dashboard configuration, and system monitoring assistance. This is a service that provides you with a dedicated Verify SE to do the heavy lifting, giving you a stress-free, hands-off experience. For more information, please contact us or your account manager, and we'll be glad to speak more in depth about pricing in terms of service for our enhanced consulting services, or ECS. With all of that said, there we go. With all that said, let's go into the wild. I will hand things off to Matt, and please remember to type any questions into the chat, and we'll address them at the end of the presentation.
All right. Thank you, and good day, everyone. This is Matt Sykes with Verify. Yes, today's webinar is going to be focused on user-based versus device-based reporting and benefits and options for both. A lot to unpack here, so let's get the show on the road. So right now, I'm kind of showcasing a dashboard at the moment. It's kind of a more frequent one that I do showcase for Call Manager, but definitely within Verify or in the Call Manager data itself. We're going to get very granular with some details in a moment or two, but there's definitely different options for grouping and reporting on different styles of analytical content for the environments. Now, what I necessarily mean by that long-winded statement is that whether or not we want to maybe be more focused on deriving maybe usernames as an example. Do we want user groupings or user listings? Do we want directory numbers? Do we want device names, device MAC addresses? Do we want descriptions? So that's kind of what we're going to unpack here on this call here today. So definitely in Verify, there's again kind of two different options, but certainly in certain environments, both could probably be used and be beneficial. Other environments may not be more beneficial to use both. It's probably maybe one versus the other, and we'll kind of speak to that. So definitely some of the things that we're going to talk about user-based stuff. So now, what entails user-based content out of Verify? So now Verify does actual query call manager either live or running on a sync on routine. But what it's doing is it's going to pull down metadata information into the Verify backend so that we can go ahead and polish the reporting or the dashboard widgets for kind of that usage style, excuse me. So as example here in the upper left, we're looking at a distribution widget used to be built out and sliced on this donut chart here in this graph by departments. So we can certainly leverage departments. Those are certainly going to be part of the user reporting. So will be end user. There is maybe a lower one that we may get to if we have enough time, but for the most part, the users are mainly going to entail departments and their own usernames, depending on how we wish to lay those out. Now, the flip side of the coin would be the device style reporting. So I'm not showing it at the moment, but I will have some stuff that will in a few. But an example of the device stuff, which will be which there's more of, are going to be device pools, device descriptions, um, DN descriptions, um, and a couple other ones as well. But so I do want to kind of make that differentiation. So it kind of depends on what kind of environment that we're entertaining, let's just say. So in this lab, and I've got a couple labs that we're going to entertain here. So I'm going to formulate mainly just everything pretty simplistically for everyone on this call or for this demonstration for just inbound traffic to either some shared line appearances, hunt pilots, or something like that. Now, here's an example of the call analytics reporting history section. So in this history section, what I kind of refer to as a sandbox, we can certainly run any quick ad hoc queries and searches that we need to. In this example, I'm keying off of a hunt pilot of the 77280. Now, here's an example of where I may be engaged in an environment where Verify is, where maybe the call manager doesn't have a lot of the device information defined. Example, the device descriptions are actually blank. Now, the device pools are blank as well, and I think that's a fault of my own in my lab. But certainly we do run into this all the time where device descriptions are not well populated, or maybe the flip side of the coin. Let's go back to the user reporting, because this one certainly does center around kind of user reporting or user-based style reporting. So in this example, so to this hunt pilot, these are the directory numbers of the users that are answering these calls. While this environment doesn't have device descriptions populating nor pools, we definitely have exposure to the departments, to the username. So that style of user-based kind of reporting. And we also even have kind of canned reports for that as well off of our site that I'll get into in a moment. Now, that's good for user-based reporting, but what if we're in maybe a healthcare environment or maybe an academic environment where they're not really utilizing any end user representation for their device mappings, let's just say. So if call manager is provisioned in that way to pretty much just lean probably mostly on device descriptions to kind of give some type of breakdown for user handlement or maybe or certainly phone handlement, but also in that description could certainly be vetted, usernames as well if the admins of the call manager deem to put that in at the device level. Now, while certainly healthcare environments are not going to really have any of this, end user information, rarely do they ever have departments and users listed in here. Again, because it's going to be more common area phone based, if you will. So wall phones, elevator phones, again, general room phones, etc. Those are not going to have any end user mappings tied to them. So in that light, so user kind of reporting would a little bit be out the window for them if they want to kind of breakdowns. Now, those style of breakdowns, I'm going to flip-flop back to the user stuff in a sec here. So the reporting templates that we do offer, we have some examples, just a quick show here. So an organizational summary by end user is example. Let's look at this sample summary report. So this is giving us multi-tiered grouping here, again, at a user level. So it's grouping first primarily by department, and then secondarily by that end user ID that we're going to give first name, last name, and potentially user IDs if need be or if warranted. Now, while this can certainly handle multi-direction traffic, that's completely fine. We can relabel things as well. But again, this is going to be kind of your user kind of based reporting kind of go-to, if you will. Now, whether or not we need to have multi-tiers, department users rolling up into a department, maybe we don't care about the users. Maybe the admins only care about the department level. So we can certainly choose to only key off of departments. Again, that user kind of based modeling as well, but certainly have secondary options to incorporate users if needed. Now, again, flip side of that coin is going to be other environments. Let me slide over to this one here. Now, in this other lab that I have here, different style of data from a different time. This, again, let me slide to my right. Similar columns we were just looking at, but again, look, all the end user information is blanked out on this inbound traffic. So I'm keying around this kind of like this crisis hotline example here in my lab that I conjured up. But again, there's no user definitions that were Axel querying from Call Manager. So these devices, these SCP Macs that verify as Axel querying lookups into Call Manager, there's no end user reference, for us on that. However, again, here we go. We have device descriptions. Now, device descriptions are definitely my fallback for, again, healthcare environments that don't have end user populations, but there can be other environments as well that maybe have a mixture of the two. But definitely this is a good use case for some type of, again, a healthcare entity that doesn't have any end user adoption, let's just say. So we do have the luxury then of being able to go ahead and sort and filter off of the device descriptions. If we need to then leverage the DN description as a tertiary Axel component, we most certainly can as well. And that could potentially give you kind of the user labeling or some type of denotion of who or what device was answering and handling those calls. So there's a lot of stuff that we can back up into that as well. So let's just take a look at maybe a couple, I guess, a sample report, if you will. Because from here we can even export this information directly into a report. Now, again, whether this is exporting something on the fly from the history section, or whether or not we have a report built into the report section to run ad hoc or on automation. So the power that really today's session is really going to be derived around is going to be around the grouping statistics. Now, I already have reports ran for this, but I want everyone in the benefit of the recording to see this. So grouping options. So we definitely in Verify have two different options for the groupings. Well, a lot more than that, excuse me, but two classifications for today's content, let's just say. Now, again, while I'm keying off of the inbound traffic to these shared line appearances, I'm going to want to group on who internally is answering these calls. Now, if I want to, again, like that sample report showed earlier, if I want to leverage the department and then break it down by end user ID, we most certainly can. These are probably going to be the most normal run-of-the-mill kind of grouping options for user-based reporting within Verify. Again, we don't necessarily always have to employ a secondary. If again, like I said a few seconds ago, if the managers or the IT admins only want to see groupings by departments for for the environment for who's handling these calls at a very higher level, certainly can, but definitely have the option to go ahead and employ a down to the user ID level. Now, when using the user ID level, we will have options to go ahead and display the user IDs in a couple different fashions. Myself personally, I like the last name first, but the default is last name first name and username in parens. Certainly, you can see a couple different options that are in here that are viable. So to each their own. Now, if we flip the coin one more time and go away from user-based and look at device-based, maybe we want to look at, let me go to pools. Maybe we want to lean and leverage on the terminating device pools and then have a secondary grouping option for the device names. Those will be the MAC addresses. So the SCPs, the CSFs, the bots, the tablets, the device styles that the users are entertaining those calls on that Verify is simply reading through the CDR. So we have reports that we're going to take a look at that in a moment. Now, there's definitely combinations of plenty from multi-direction. Again, I'm just filtering, looking on inbound traffic to this environment. One bonus option here is one thing that does straddle both classifications is going to be the directory number description. Now, that's somewhat newer to Verify, probably over the past 9, 12 months or so, I would say. So it's definitely another viable option as well. Again, whether or not that is being populated and can be read and Axel queried by Verify can remain to be seen. Don't get me wrong, but we can certainly vet it briefly in the slide back into the history section. So again, this one being more user-based in this lab example here, but do I have a DN description? I do. So we have DN descriptions on these users while I may not have device descriptions. So I could certainly group by primarily by the department and then secondarily by a DN description if I want to, if I chose that over the end user ID layout. So there's definitely that modal, but also there's options to go ahead and let's slide to a different lab where we can also then key off of let me slide here. So this crisis line here, where again, I have no end user representation whatsoever. So I could certainly lean on device pool and then secondarily by the DN description or secondarily by the device description, or I could primarily filter on, primarily group on device description and then maybe secondarily group it by the MAC address styles. So there's definitely kind of those two main options that you're going to have, user-based or device-based reporting. So it just depends on how your call manager environment is set up. Now, making that kind of statement, I do want to maybe just kind of bring one thing to light or to mention. Now, within Verify, there's definitely going to be end user association that is defined out of the box. And I'd say about 95% out in the field, all of our systems are leaning on controlled device um, control device names as our end user association lookup, but certainly we do have other options as well. So if we need to lean on own device or primary extensions, certainly we have other options if need be. But again, I'm just going to follow the default methodology of the control device. But certainly if you're ever entertaining and looking at some things in the Verify history search and you know for a fact as you're looking in Call Manager that device descriptions are updated, or the end users are properly associated to the devices, and for some wild reason, Verify is not incorporating maybe those user IDs or those descriptions properly. Maybe look to see if your end user association may need to be toggled, but certainly Verify support can assist with that. Now, that being said, let's go look at some reports. So I built something out from this Rock Island lab for some data from a few weeks ago. Pretty mundane looking, if you will, but an example of being able to go ahead and group by descriptions. So I think I have that laid out easily right over here. Yep, here's my Rock Island cluster. External callers calling in over my Atlanta cube. They're calling into a Hunt Pilot for this dispatch location, so it's 8308. And then from here, I can see I do have a lot of things populated. So I do have the DN descriptions are populated, the department is not, but users are. Device descriptions are, but some of it may be a little redundant, let's say, or maybe not so beneficial to showcase as handlement or where that call went. So again, this one maybe not being the best for end user association, let's just say. Myself, I personally lean on the device descriptions, and whether that was just singly or if we also need to secondarily also then incorporate the MAC addresses, we most certainly can. And that's essentially what this report's doing right here. So on this one day for last month on SEP 24, 43 calls came inbound to this dispatch Hunt Pilot or into this Hunt group, and I've leveraged Verify's grouping to go ahead and provide for me the device descriptions and rank it kind of leaderboard-esque, if you will. So I can see that the dispatch device description handled most of these 43 calls, and they can see what kind of happens on down the line with one call rolling over to voicemail for the 2.3% that we see. Now, we can certainly, as always, drill into these groupings and look at the very granular call details if we need to. I don't think we need to in this example. But another example maybe of some device reporting, pardon me, is going to be around this crisis hotline in this other cluster. So again, same kind of rules apply here, but this time, again, yes, no end user representation whatsoever. Again, we have the benefit of again the DN description kind of being able to straddle both users and devices, but again, to each their own, what's going to be more beneficial and valuable for you for a report deliverables. Now, in this example here, I'm going to want to know all the users that are handling the calls, so I can either look at device descriptions or the DN description. Again, do I want to incorporate the MAC address? Maybe, maybe not, but there are good use cases there, and I'll get to that in a second. Or do we want to maybe go by device pool? Maybe I'm just not looking at one shared line appearance. Maybe I want to run this kind of more system wide as an example. Maybe we primarily group the reporting results by device pool, and then maybe secondarily, maybe by their descriptions, or maybe by that DN description as an example. Maybe not the MAC addresses, that may be a little too granular for them, but again, we definitely have these options at the ready. So looking at this crisis group here as an example, I built one of these out last night. So here's an example of some older call data for this group here. 166 calls came into them. High level summarizations, sure, but it's the grouping that again that has the power that we're driving on for today's session. So we're grouping on the device descriptions primarily, and then secondarily by their device names. So you'll see here that the crisis supervisor is bolded because they're the primary. That's the device description, and then the secondary option is going to be by the device MAC address. Now, I had a client the other day kind of asking me about this, and unfortunately, my lab was failing, and I didn't have Jabber devices because the nice thing about using the grouping, the two-level grouping in this manner, and using these ones descriptions and then by device name, is if there are users, and this was the use case as well, users that work in the office, but when they're in the office, they're using a hard desk phone, but they also work from home 2 days a week, and when they are, they're using their Jabber devices, so CSF devices, and the managers want to know, okay, for this user, now for this user, but in this example, description because the user was off the table. So, but for these grouped entities that we'll call description users, we want to know the devices that they're utilizing the most. Want to make sure that those 2 days a week when they are working from home, that there is no nominal activity on their CSFs, on their Jabbers, and not to see onesie twosie calls, kind of making it look like they're just kind of mailing it in from home. So a little bit of Big Brother reporting, but definitely the Verify application certainly makes it very easy for you to interpret and go ahead and cultivate. So pretty easy here to break that out. If we didn't need the MAC addresses in there, we can certainly remove them. If we wanted to replace them with the DN description as well, that's certainly something that's viable as well. I think I'm doing that over here in the secondary flavor. So same report, same 166 calls for the same time frame, a little different look and feel, but the exact same counts. Just not breaking it down by the device description. This time using DN description, which is a little more in this use case here, a little more abbreviated. So instead of crisis supervisor with some other acronyms and numerics, can be whittled down maybe a little more cleaner to maybe this DN description that again verifies also Axel querying. So that DN description is nice to have because certainly we can leverage it both for users and for device-based reportings. Now, we can certainly then take this stuff and this information, go ahead and gussy up dashboard widgets as well. So it certainly has applicability there for sure. Pardon me. So let's go take a peek. So I think I threw this together last night. Let me just resize for our eyes briefly before I zoom in, I'm sure. Okay, so just to kind of hammer this home, and okay, of course things jumped around on me, just to hammer this home. So these are primarily, I'm just kind of keying off of the left side here. So device pools, that's what I'm grouping on this first column here, bidirectionally, come on, hover over. Originating or terminating CUCM device pool. So if I need to leverage the device pools, my lab doesn't have many, but departments, it does. So we can leverage pools, which would be device, departments, which are going to be users. Sure, certainly, users will be users. And then, but again, no device descriptions. Those are going to be from the device side of the house. Now, again, my lab doesn't have too many here, but we definitely have options to go ahead and entertain those. The DN descriptions as well. So if we want to leverage those, if we want to measure the top MAC addresses that are handling call traffic in the environment, most certainly can. Do we want to leverage them in in these donut charts as well, known as distribution style widgets? We most certainly can, but again, it's up to I guess up to the Verify user or admin who's actually cultivating and building this stuff out. Again, what is the best road and mode of operation to use? Do we want to use user based? Do we want to use device based? So I mean, anytime again I get into an environment, first thing I kind of do is I jump into the history section. I see kind of what the Axel kind of pullbacks actually look like. Do we have any user-based information? Do we have any departments? Do we have any users? If not, I'm praying that we have device descriptions of something as a fallback. That's normally the kind of the mode of operation I run with. But again, all environments can be completely different. Some maybe a little more recognizable. Again, I'm going to keep harping on healthcare entities because I see it all the time. But there's definitely mixed bag of call manager systems out there in the field. Just do know that you have two options to kind of leverage that reporting. Again, by users or by devices. Now, if we don't have users, again, hopefully the device descriptions at the phone level, those descriptions can provide, or the DN, where is it? Or the DN description, the directory number descriptions, can leverage some kind of some human or staff member kind of entity so that we know exactly who these calls belong to or what entities these are, so that again, when we're building out the reports that run either on ad hoc or on frequency, or even these dashboard widgets, we know who they belong to. Okay, so looks like I'm getting a little short on time here. I do want to make mention about custom labels, as always. So certainly as we can see here, I'm keying off of departments, but I'm using bidirectional. I'm using inbound and outbound, or originating and terminating. Certainly, Verify has custom label sets that I can easily utilize at a moment's notice and go ahead and update those so they're a little more cleaner on the eyes, as an example. So if you're using multi-direction filters and groupings, definitely we can hover over them and see that these labels have been replaced. So instead of kind of giving you that Cisco out of the box jargon of originating and terminating and parties, we can certainly clean that up visually so it resonates a little more intuitively to the user. So again, users, I'm calling them staff members, device descriptions, calling them device descriptions, and directory numbers, calling them something similar as well, or the MAC addresses, calling them phone devices. So we certainly have those pretty easily. The widgets, I will make mention, while the reports themselves do have secondary grouping, like where are we? Like this guy does right here. Widgets, unfortunately, only have a singular level of grouping. So definitely, when you're kind of cultivating, your reports, that's good. I always then recommend, kind of building out dashboard widgets as a complementary deliverable as well, because these things are refreshing near real time. Whereas a report is nice to have and runs on automation or on an ad hoc nature. Certainly, kind of having the two kind of to complement one another, I do feel is very advantageous for all. Now, one thing I don't think I've made mention just yet, when you're playing around with these groupings, and where are they? Let me jump back here. Do I have any down here? Unassociated. I want to talk about the unassociated. Unassociated. If that one's got crazy on me. There's going to be unassociated. We're going to see here. Oh, here we go. Prime example here. So this is a device pool that has unassociated grouping on a device pool. There's going to be other ones that we're going to see as well. Whether or not we're looking at departments, looking at users. And I think I've got a good report. Let me just jump away real briefly. If I go to my Hunt Pilot dashboard here, normally, let's see. I think I curtail this. Probably perfect example. Okay, so these are 72 call, pardon me. These are 72 calls from a Hunt Pilot for the current week so far in this lab example here. I've got my I'm using user based here because we can see user ID, so that's the way I'm leveraging the grouping on this widget. But in a report or even a dashboard widget, there are going to be times where you see no associated X, Y, and Z based off whichever grouping field that you're looking to entertain or to populate. What this really means is that in this example here, there's no end user for these 6 calls. So potentially there's not an end user associated to that phone MAC address and call manager. Maybe it's a department. Maybe there's some users that don't have a department labeling that got fed from Active Directory into their user records within call manager. There's definitely all kinds of stuff like that. So if you see a no associated, chances are there's probably something that needs to be updated in call manager. But also if it's kind of one of those one-offs where, you know what, those are some common area phones that we're not going to assign to anybody, and you know what, I don't even want them in there because they're only single digits and they're not harming anybody. Well, certainly we have options to go ahead and suppress that as well. So I'm currently including the unassociated, but most certainly you could also even turn that off if you didn't want to see that that exposure that maybe look a little hairy to the to the layman's eyes. Now, certainly we can strike certain things out in certain widgets, but again, we definitely have the option to go ahead and filter that stuff out. So now, again, I think I'm just going to go ahead and just kind of quickly wrap with, being able to go ahead and, run, user-based reports, device-based reporting. One's not better than the other. I want to say that. So there's not necessarily one. It's not user-based versus, device-based as an example. Now, definitely we've got, webinars that we've done previously and reports that, because the end user, I think, is more popular, let's say. But again, there's going to be certain environments where maybe the device reporting or the device-based reporting, again, is going to be more beneficial for the report recipients or the content reviewers, let's say. Now, saying all of that, I would like to talk more. Just running out of time. But again, there's always a mixed bag of options that you have from Verify. So there's not a one size fits all necessarily. There's definitely more things that we can do and uncover, and even kind of help educate you along the way as well with. So if there's kind of any cause for concern where maybe the Verify support, myself or one of my team members, we can certainly take a look at some of this content and see, whether or not, why certain unassociated values are in some of the report groupings or in the widgets, and how do I clean this up, and why isn't Verify recognizing this? And we can certainly help you kind of point that out, and kind of if there's an issue with the end user association, again within Verify, leveraging Call Manager, or if there's some missing components at the user level in Call Manager or at the device level that need to be polished and updated so that the reporting at the end game, the reporting at the end of the day, can be as well polished and deliver as much impactful content as required. So I think I'm going to end it there and open up for any questions. Mike, is there anything on the any questions waiting in the wings for us?
Nothing in the chat right now.
No.
Going once, right. Going twice.
Okay. I mean, I definitely use both everywhere I go. So I mean, again, I always kind of just jump full shoes right into the history section, look at some example data, and obviously vet what's going to be the best workflow for the customer that I'm servicing at that time. Certainly, there's discussions to be made, maybe some content that can be manipulated in Call Manager to aid the again the reporting endeavor at the end of the day. But certainly, Verify support is here and has you covered for all of that. All right. No questions. It must have been that good. I'm just playing around with dark mode in my lab right now, just to give you a little trick or treat feeling on your way out the door here today on this session. So I do just want to say thank you everyone for joining us. And Mike, if you want to take us home, sir.
Let me share. And then thank you again, everybody, for joining us today. We appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. Our next session will be next week, where Jim and John will be showing off or showing everyone how to manage user access in Zoom Phone. And that'll be next Wednesday, November 6th at 11 a.m. Pacific time. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you all. Take care.